The new head coach of Queens women's soccer, Aimee Haywood, is here on the Queens Sports Network. I'm Holly Van Kuren. Coach, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I'm excited about this. It's good to virtually meet you, and as I'm meeting most people this way, so things are going well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. And so you're coming from Ohio down to Charlotte. I imagine that's a big adjustment on its own, but you've also left a successful coaching career at your alma mater, Ohio Dominican. What was so appealing to you about heading south to Queens?
To start, I'm actually kind of a Southern girl at heart. I was born in Atlanta, so the move, with where we're coming from, isn't that kind of out of the blue. This is a good place. I like to be in the South. I like the sunshine, and the first day we moved here, I had to run up to Publix, got my Publix sub and my sweet tea, and I was right at home. I'm super excited about Queens, though. That's obviously why we've up and moved our family down here, because there's just so much potential in terms of this as an academic university and as a really, really strong competitor in Division II. Just hopeful to help move women's soccer up along with the rest of those sports who are competing so high in the Learfield Cup and doing so well.
Now, did you have any challenges moving down here due to the pandemic?
It was super difficult to move down here. So I took over in March, and we just now moved here at the end of May, beginning of June. So it's taken us a few months. We actually couldn't come down really at all and look for houses in the beginning because of the way that things were shut down. So just kind of plugged away from home at my laptop until we were able to make it down, and went through a bunch of houses in one day and found one and went with it, and now here we are. So it was difficult to kind of not be on campus to start things, but obviously nobody was on campus, so that's just kind of the way that things have been going. And I have a feeling that once campus opens, it's going to be like starting again, because then I'm going to have to like reframe everything. Okay, where's the mail? Where's this? How does this all work? But it's actually been a lot easier than I had anticipated it would be, starting a new job remotely, so to speak.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're settling in to the new city here, but I also imagine this is probably the first time you've ever met a new team virtually as their new coach. So what was that experience like for you?
Certainly not what I had probably hoped for, but it went better than I had thought it might go. We met as a team every week throughout the spring semester, and then I met with every individual player every other week. And it was a great way to help them stay on top of their daily routine and how are your classes going, and let's talk through being a student right now, because that's what we could control is that part of finishing this semester really strong. There's also a great opportunity just to get to know them as individuals. So in that way, I kind of feel like I know them better as people than I probably would have known them if we were here, because I would have got to know them on the soccer field, which would have been great, but I wouldn't have had those one-on-one conversations as often. And that was really cool. So now I feel like when they get here, we're not starting from scratch. We have like a good foundation of relationships, and that's super important in the first year. It's just getting to know your student athletes and setting that foundation, and then moving through the soccer piece of it. So in a way, it's been a really good silver lining.
Absolutely. And you're coming on to such a young and talented team. So what have you been able to see and learn from them already, from maybe watching film and from those Zoom calls?
Yeah, so actually before I accepted the job, I watched a lot of game film. I mean, I wouldn't say I watched every minute of every game from last season. I think that would be impossible, but I watched a good amount, and I think this is a super talented team. I'm excited to work with them and kind of implement a new brand that's suited to their strengths. And I think we have a lot of work that we can do to improve, but I think the student athletes on this team are very, very talented, very athletic, and I'm excited to work with them. In terms of the Zoom calls, this group is, I would call them motivated and articulate, like very articulate young women, independent thinkers, go-getters. I think if you just look at our roster, you'll see student athletes from all over the country, all over the world. You'll see some from Charlotte, and I think that speaks to Queens because it speaks to the type of student athletes that come here. The ones who are from North Carolina, it's the ones who see the value and know about Queens, how great it is. The ones that come from far are those independent thinkers who want to go and find that best experience where they're going to pursue their degree in the right place and be able to compete at the highest level. I think that's a really special environment to be surrounded with people like that. And I'm just very impressed by them as young women in general.
And Coach, we recently heard some encouraging news from SAC Commissioner Patrick Britz, who stated, "We will be open for business, but with a reduced schedule." So how have you been preparing yourself and your team for abnormalities this upcoming season?
So for us, we had 17 games initially scheduled. That's been knocked down to 14. To me, that's still a really good number. In fact, some teams schedule 14 or 15. So for us, we're kind of approaching this as this is a good opportunity for us to have a little bit more recovery time between games and to really get the most out of the games that we have. In the sport of soccer, there's been a lot of talk about should there be more time between games already. And so this is going to be a good kind of litmus test for does that really help with recovery in the body and things like that. But for our team, the approach that we've taken from the beginning of all this starting is let's control what we can control. We're going to act as if we're going to have a season and we're going to crush the season. And so all we are worried about is that process that leads up to the season. And I told them, we want you focused on today. What can you control today? Can you win today? And each day, if you can win today, those will add up. And so we're just worried about 3 days really. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And if we can worry about those 3 days, we're not looking any further back, and we're not looking any further forward, we will be successful, no matter what the fall season looks like. And so we're very focused on that. And that's been the attitude from the beginning, and that's what we keep, kind of reiterating every time we meet as a team and we talk as a team. Just focus on today, control what you can control, and try to stay motivated, stay connected. That's been huge, is trying to stay connected to each other because we're all home and in different places. So I think I heard the team had a Zoom call yesterday, so I hope that went well and they're doing a good job growing their relationships through all of this.
Those are great words of wisdom in these uncertain times, Coach. When do you expect to be able to meet face-to-face with your team and really start coaching these ladies?
Well, we move in, I believe, on the 15th or 16th of August. Now, the official date is out of my head at the moment, but that's when we'll finally get to meet in person, and we'll get started on the field on the 17th, and I'm super excited for that.
I know there's been many summer camps postponed, but are there any new developments on the prospect camp that's been aimed for July?
Yeah, so the prospect camp for July is still on. It's been a bit slow to pick up steam in terms of people registering. I think people are just waiting to see kind of, okay, is it safe? Is it not safe? What are the protocols going to be? And we're going to be sure to get those out shortly with another, round of invites to those campers. And of course, it's open to anyone. So if you want to go in there and register, we would love to work with you. But we really do have a 2-day prospect camp in August, and that's really important because some of our team will actually be there. And so if you want to come and meet members of the team, that August 14th, 15th camp is really a good one. It's an overnight, so people coming from further away can come and stay and really get to know Queens as a university, get to know our program, get to know our staff, and for us to get to know them as well. That's really important part of the recruiting process is who are the people? Let's get the right people on our team, and that we'll go from there on the soccer piece. So that's important.
All right, Coach, and before we go, what's one thing that you couldn't get through the last few months without?
Oh, my quarantine necessities. I would say one new hobby that I've kind of been getting into is I've been going for walks and listening to podcasts while I walk. So I have a couple pastor sermons that I keep listening to every week. But a couple other ones I really like are the Modern Soccer Coach podcast, naturally, the Focus 3 podcast, and one that I would highly recommend, Julie Foudy's Laughter Permitted podcast. That one is hilarious. So I just walk and I listen to those, and that kind of like brings me back to sanity, because I'm working from home with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, and it is not easy, let me tell you. So any parents out there who can understand, I feel you.
I can only imagine. I bet, will you be sharing some of those podcasts with your team?
We might. I might. Maybe some of the Focus 3 ones are really good for teams. So sometimes I try to use, a tidbit I hear here or there, and use it in pregame or use it for a team building exercise, things like that. So it's definitely professional development for me. It's also, though, just a way to kind of relax.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck to you this season. Stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing Queens Women's Soccer at Dixon Field.
Awesome. Thanks so much.